The airplane cabin was filled with murmurs as passengers settled into their seats. The seatbelt sign blinked overhead. An elderly white woman, Mrs. Thompson, adjusted her designer purse, her nose wrinkling as a tall black soldier, Sergeant Jackson, sat beside her. "Oh, great. Just my luck," she muttered under her breath, shifting uncomfortably. Jackson, in his crisp military uniform, glanced at her but remained silent. He'd face worse. The flight attendant walked by, and Mrs. Thompson abruptly waved her over. "Excuse me, can I get another seat? I don't feel comfortable here." The attendant hesitated. "I'm sorry, ma'am, the flight is full." Mrs. Thompson scoffed. "Of course it is." She folded her arms, glaring at Jackson. "People like you always get special treatment anyway." The tension in the cabin was thick enough to cut with a knife. Other passengers exchanged awkward glances. Jackson clenched his fist but took a deep breath. He had been trained to handle worse battles. The low hum of the airplane engines vibrated through the cabin as passengers settled into their seats. Overhead compartments clicked shut, and a faint scent of stale coffee mixed with recycled air filled the space. Through the small oval windows, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow over the tarmac. Soft chimes announced the captain's welcome message, but Mrs. Thompson barely listened. Instead, she drummed her manicured fingers against the armrest, her lips pursed as a tall figure moved toward her row. The approaching man's polished military boots thudded lightly against the carpeted aisle, his uniform crisp, his presence commanding as he took the seat beside her. The leather cushion shifted slightly. Mrs. Thompson stiffened, gripping her purse tighter. The surrounding murmurs of other passengers faded into an awkward silence, broken only by the rustling of safety pamphlets and the occasional cough. She inhaled sharply, her nose wrinkling as if the very air had changed. Sergeant David Carter had faced storms fiercer than the turbulence shaking this plane. A man of discipline and resilience, his broad shoulders carried the weight of 1,000 battles, both on the field and within. His dark skin glowed under the dim cabin lights, his sharp brown eyes scanning the rows ahead, not with suspicion, but with the quiet awareness of a man trained to read a room. The uniform on his back wasn't just fabric. It was a lifetime of service, of sacrifice, of silent battles most would never understand. Mrs. Evelyn Thompson adjusted her pearl necklace, her blue eyes narrowing as the soldier settled into the seat beside her. A woman of high society, she believed in class, in structure, in knowing one's place. Wrinkles of discontent formed on her forehead as she exhaled sharply, shifting away. To her, the uniform did not symbolize honor. To her, it was an invasion of her space, of her perceived superiority. Her lips curled ever so slightly, ready to deliver a remark she wouldn't realize she'd regret. The plane began its ascent, and the tension between David and Mrs. Thompson became palpable. As the seatbelt sign dinged off, she couldn't resist anymore. "Excuse me, sir." Mrs. Thompson's voice broke the hum of the cabin, sharp and pointed. She turned to David, her eyes cold. "Are you sure you should be sitting in this section? Perhaps you feel more comfortable elsewhere." David's hand tightened around the armrest, but his face remained unreadable. He'd heard her all before, but something about her words stung more than usual today. "Ma'am," David replied, his voice calm but firm, "I'm exactly where I need to be." But Mrs. Thompson wasn't done. She leaned in closer, her perfume filling the space between them. "I don't believe your kind belongs here in the first class section," she hissed, just loud enough for the nearby passengers to hear. Her eyes scanned his uniform with an air of superiority, as if his presence alone was a disruption. The air around him felt thick, every word like a hammer against a thin layer of civility. David's fists clenched under the seat, his military training telling him to keep calm, but his chest tightened with the urge to defend his honor, his identity. He looked straight ahead, biting back the words that could escalate the situation. But Mrs. Thompson didn't stop there. "I didn't fight for this country to have to share a cabin with people like you," she sneered. The whole plane seemed to hold its breath. David could feel the stares of other passengers, the tension mounting. But what she didn't know was that David was no ordinary soldier. He'd been through battles far worse than these words. The next morning, Mrs. Thompson woke up to a quiet hotel room. The weight of the events from yesterday was still heavy on her mind. She pulled the curtains open, letting in the harsh daylight. Her phone buzzed with notification. An update on the news, a story she hadn't expected to see. The headline read, "Black soldier's heroic act saves dozens of lives in crash landing." Her heart dropped. She read the article, her fingers trembling as she scrolled. The story detailed how David, the man she'd insulted just hours before, had helped the entire flight crew and passengers during an emergency landing when the plane suffered mechanical failure. His calm demeanor under pressure, his quick decisions, and his bravery had saved lives that night. She stared at the screen in disbelief, her face pale. The weight of her words hit her like a ton of bricks. She never expected the man she had disrespected to be a hero, to be the reason so many people were alive today. Her hand pressed to her mouth as guilt washed over her. Her eyes fell on the final line of the article. Heroism knows no race or class. The word stung, and a lump formed in her throat as she sank to the edge of the bed. It dawned on her how wrong she was, how her prejudice had clouded her judgment, and how much she had missed by judging someone based on the color of their skin. The plane, the insults, the awkward silence. It all felt like a distant memory now. And all she could think about was how she wished she'd seen him as a person, not just a soldier in uniform, not just someone like him. Mrs. Thompson, standing now in front of the mirror, looked at her reflection. A tear slid down her cheek as she thought about the terrible mistake she made, how quickly she had judged someone based on an outdated stereotype, a misguided assumption. It was only after the truth came to light, after the plane had landed safely, and the news of David's bravery spread, that she realized how wrong she had been. Her thoughts were interrupted as she heard a knock on the door. She opened it to find a message left by the hotel staff, a simple note from David, the soldier. It read, "No hard feelings. We all make mistakes. Just remember, kindness costs nothing and understanding is everything." Her heart swelled with a strange mix of gratitude and regret. In a world that often jumped to conclusions and divides, David's words hit harder than anything else. She knew this moment. As she looked out the window, the world suddenly seemed different to her. The people, the stories they carry with them, and the experiences they go through, none of it is ever as simple as it seems. Everyone has their own battles, their own struggles, their own victories. And in that moment, she realized the truth. The color of someone's skin, their uniform, their background, none of it defines who they truly are. It's their actions, their heart, and their humanity that make them who they really are. She smiled softly to herself, knowing that this experience would stay with her forever, a reminder to never judge, to always look deeper, and to see people for who they truly are. Now it's your turn. Have you ever found yourself judging someone too quickly, only to realize later how wrong you were? How did that moment change your perspective? Let's talk about it in the comments below. If you learned something from this story, don't forget to hit the like button, share, and subscribe for more impactful stories like this one.